Oh my God, you have seen me be such a dweeb.
We're letting our freak flags fly with Rachel Brosnahan, and we've got the stories that define the week on People in 10. I'm Andrea Boehlke with everything you need to know about pop culture right now. We've got 10 minutes, so let's dive right in with the first 5. We start with Olivia Jade breaking her silence on the college admissions scandal.
This has been like a really eye-opening experience.
It all went down on Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk, but Jada's mom, Adrienne, says she fought the appearance tooth and nail, citing white privilege. And she held back tears as she told Olivia why she felt that way, especially given the inequality and inequity that 2020 has brought to the forefront.
When you come to the table with something like this, it's like, child, please.
Both of Olivia Jade's parents, Lori Loughlin and Massimo Giannulli, are currently serving time in prison after pleading guilty to fraud charges in May. And Olivia took this opportunity to publicly own up to the mistakes her family made.
I'm not trying to victimize myself. I don't want pity. I don't deserve pity. We messed up. I just want a second chance to be like, I recognize I messed up.
This week, Prince William and Kate Middleton concluded a 3-day train tour of England, Scotland, and Wales. The grand finale, a visit with the Queen at Windsor Castle.
It marked the first time many of the royal family members have come together since the start of the pandemic. The reunion saw the Queen, Kate and William, Prince Charles, Camilla, Prince Edward, Sophie Countess of Wessex, and Princess Anne. They paid tribute to key workers, care staff, and volunteers. They also enjoyed Christmas carols from the Salvation Army Band.
But there were some notable royals absent from the event.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were not in attendance because they are still in California, and also Prince Andrew, who stepped down from public life last year.
This was also Kate's first time aboard the royal train, and it has its quirks.
One interesting thing for royal watchers is that the couple had to sleep separately during the tour because their suite consisted of his and her single beds.
Moving on to a story you've been following closely this week on People.com. NASCAR's Kyle Busch and his wife Samantha are opening up about their heartbreaking journey to have another baby.
They've spent much of this year searching for a surrogate to carry their second child.
And in September, they found her. But 2 months later, Samantha revealed on Instagram that the surrogate's pregnancy test was negative.
Samantha says she and Kyle just broke down. This was their final girl embryo, so it was even more devastating.
The couple welcomed their son, Braxton Locke, via IVF in 2015, and Samantha shared the sweet metaphor they've been using to help Braxton understand what surrogacy means: baking cookies.
She has explained that their oven is broken, so they are borrowing someone else's oven, but they're still their cookies.
Despite all the obstacles, Kyle and Samantha say they still hope to have another child. All right, switching gears now to the Instagrams you've been loving this week. The magical Elf on the Shelf keeps a watchful eye on kids during the holiday season. But now the stars are getting their elf on with a viral meme challenge inspired by the Elf on the Shelf's rhyming name. Here are some of our faves. We have Hanks on Banks from Elizabeth Banks, The Crown on Brown, posted by Sterling K. Brown. Here's Oprah on Chopra from Priyanka Chopra. And the Grinch is taking on the Queen of Christmas in this creation, Carrie on Carrie.
Ooh.
But the most creative might be this one from Heidi Klum, Orlando Bloom, Rumor Willis, and Amy Schumer. So that's Klum on Bloom, on Room, on Schum, on Zoom, taking it to a whole new level. Now it's time to wrap up our Holidays Today and Everyday series. It's all brought to you by Lifetime, where the holidays are for everyone, with new holiday movies all season long. Today, we're getting some help from the People Food Team. They're sharing the holiday dishes that get them feeling festive every year.
This dish is so special to me because it's a dish my mother has made around the holidays since I was very little. I remember my mother pulling that biryani out of the oven and that smell and her placing it on the table, and we just would dig in. Even then, it was the best thing I'd ever tasted. It has spices, you have some fresh vegetables, protein of some kind, and then, of course, the rice. We always add some toasted cashews or crispy fried onions and a little bit of saffron just to give it a little bit of a color and this amazing fragrance. This shrimp biryani is something that I look forward to every holiday.
To me, nothing signals the holidays more than smelling my mom's Lebanese meat pies in the oven. These are a savory mini pie. Primary spice in these pies is cinnamon. So that they get really brown on the outside, we like to brush them either with a beaten egg or melted butter. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Whenever we had them growing up, we would have the meat pies dipped in my dad's spicy salsa, which is not a traditional combination, but for me, that is the most nostalgic thing in the world.
Growing up, I would always make Christmas cookies with my next door neighbor, but my favorite were the rainbow cookies. These cookies are just so Christmassy to me. Kind of like a spongy cake. The actual recipe is not very complicated. Most recipes tell you to make this in a 13 by 9 inch pan, but I like to do it in a loaf pan. It makes really nice thick layers. My other trick is to use a hot knife. You want to take a really sharp knife and dip it in hot water and then make sure it's dry and then cut it into slices. They're not really a cookie, but because you cut them so small, they become like a little cookies. Happy holidays, everyone.
Nothing says love around the holidays like good food. Our thanks to them for sharing their favorites. Now, let's move on to some screen time. All right, everyone, I'm so excited to be joined now by Rachel Brosnahan, who, after being marvelous as Mrs. Maisel in the 50s and 60s, is now jumping ahead to the 1970s in her new movie, I'm Your Woman, where she plays a wife who is forced to go on the run because her husband betrays his partners.
So I'm supposed to live you don't know where for you don't know how long, and also you don't know if Eddie's okay.
All right, for these final 5 minutes of the show, I'm gonna ask you 5 questions. For question number 1, I want 1 answer. For question number 2, I want 2 answers, and so on. So I know you're not in your house right now, but is there something in your house that has a lot of special significance to you that you can tell us about?
Well, I've been rearranging my house, as so many people have been over the last couple of months. What else do we have to do but move all of the furniture around? And something that I found when I was rearranging everything in my house was a stack of little poker chips from the Phoenician hotel set on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's the only thing, one of the only things, like the second thing I've ever stolen from a set. I miss that family so much, and I totally forgot that I had them, and it was a real treat and something special that I hold on to that reminds me of all of those amazing people and this project that I love so much.
I love it. What was the first thing you stole?
In the second season of House of Cards, the season ends with me smashing Doug Stamper over the head with a rock. And the rock was a prop rock that was made of styrofoam. And at the end of shooting that season, I stole the rock.
Playing off your movie, I'm Your Woman, I want to know who are 2 women in your real life that you would call your women. So 2 of your closest women friends.
My friend Rachel Sussman, who is a brilliant theater producer who I've been friends with almost 10 years at this point. She's my gal. My right hand and my left hand would go to my friend Carly Fomelant, who actually cast I'm Your Woman, was one of our brilliant casting directors. And we've been friends for about 8 years at this point. We were in a little quarantine pod at the beginning of this whole grand adventure, and I can't possibly imagine my life without them.
You turned 30 this summer in quarantine, so happy belated. So now you have 3 decades of life under your belt. I want to know 3 bucket list items that you want to do in this next decade.
Ooh, that's a great one. It's cheesy, but I would love to go skydiving. I want to go to Australia. I've never been to Australia. Obviously gonna wait a hot second on that one. And I would love to get a 3rd dog. Don't want anyone to hear me say that in this house.
Why are you not supposed to get any more dogs right now?
I'm not allowed to have any more dogs.
I want to know your top 4 guiltiest pop culture pleasures of all time. Can be anything.
Every album of Britney Spears. Survivor, as you know very, very, very well.
Andrea's good. That's 1.
I mean, does Schitt's Creek count? That's a new one for me.
And a little bit of la, 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 la.
And John Travolta sang Adele Dazeem.
Please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Adele Dazeem.
On loop.
Adele Dazeem. Adele Dazeem.
It brings me joy. It brings me great joy.
For the Survivor fans out there, because I know you do really love the show, do you have a favorite player or season?
I know I said this to you when we first met, but you actually are one of my favorite Survivor players. I loved your growth between seasons. I loved all of your seasons. Likewise with Sari, Monica, I mean, obviously Boston Rob, how could he not be?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I feel pressure because then when I talk to you outside of Survivor, I hope I'm not a letdown.
Not at all. Oh my God, you have seen me be such a dweeb. The first time we met, I don't think I could have been any more of a dweeb. Appreciate you.
You posted on Instagram how one of your favorite things about working on your movie, I'm Your Woman, was reuniting with your friend, Marcia Stephanie Blake, who you worked on Othello with. So give me 5 things that you love about her or your relationship.
Marcia Stephanie is one of the most honest people I know, and that also makes her one of the most generous people that I know. Her talent is enormous, but her heart is even bigger. Once you're in the family, you are in the family for life. And she's one of the most trustworthy people I have ever met. It is literally the dream to get to work with your friends, and to get to work with your friends, especially one as talented as Marcia Stephanie, made this experience one I will never, ever forget.
Rachel, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, make sure you watch her new movie, I'm Your Woman. It's available tomorrow on Prime Video. All right, time's up. See you next Thursday.